folks, this is Jay, your GM player and guide. Welcome to Homemade Heroes. Today we're going to be doing our session 3 of Call of Starsong Tower. Before we do that though, we are going to do a quick recap of our second session. So in our second session, Plink, Humble, and Etch, our 3 player characters, were descending down a stairwell into the basement of Starsong Tower. Humble, who had rolled a natural 1-4, heard this spectral voice coming from over her shoulder, and turning around, she saw this apparition which warned her about being in the tower. That caused her to stumble and fall, and she took down the rest of her group, who she's considerably bigger than, and they ended up in a pile at the bottom of the stairwell. They looked across and saw this strange figure that seemed to be worshipping or communing with an altar on the other side of the room. They had a conversation with this person who Plink recognized as Alice Shade Whisperer, the leader of the Bronze Lions, an adventuring party that had been sent in by Bylon Beardless, their own patron for this adventure, and who had not come back out of the tower. They spoke to Alice and weren't able to convince her to leave the tower or go with them. She seemed like she might have been suffering some kind of madness, something that was affecting her mind at least. So following that conversation, they ascended through the tower and came to the floor above the ground floor. As they were looking around, Etch came close to a pile of bones, which suddenly knit together and turned into a skeleton. And that's where we left off our last adventure. One thing that I forgot at the end of the last session was that as we were starting a new scene in the first floor of Starsong Tower, we needed to roll on our Mythic expected scene chart. So we're going to do that now and see if the expected scene is going to occur or whether there's going to be some kind of a random event. We're going to roll on the Mythic expected scene table and see if things go forward as we anticipated or whether a random event is going to throw things slightly askew. So let's roll a 1d10 and see what we get. That is a 2. Let's go back to our table and see what that means. So the chaos factor is currently a 5, as it had come down from our previous scene. And so as we see on the chart, if we roll over the chaos factor, we are going with the expected scene. We know that we rolled a 2, which means we are going to incur a random event. So let's take a look at the next table and see what that random event is going to be. This table is specifically for prepared adventures, as opposed to an adventure that you're using Mythic to come up with all of your answers and guide a lot of your gameplay. Because we're using the Ruins of the Grendleroot adventure book, we are using a prepared adventure, and so we are going to follow this table. Now I'm going to roll a D100 and we'll see what kind of random event it happens to be. That is 61. So checking our chart again, a 61 is called a PC negative, so that's a player character negative. So something in this next scene is going to happen that is a negative occurrence for one of our player characters. So let's go ahead and get started and we'll see what happens. So just to set the scene for everybody, this is the situation that has occurred in our last game. We have Etch here, who is facing off against a skeleton that had just formed in front of his very eyes. We have our purple light coming out through that hole in the center of the floor and going up through a hole in the ceiling. And then Humble is over here, and we have slightly hidden behind the purple light, we have Plink over here, who is entering a bedroom. And I'll give you a closer look. So there you get to see a little bit more of the scene. So because Etch has higher initiative, he is going to go first. So just a reminder, my initiative system is a no-roll initiative system. Essentially, it's based on your dexterity modifier. So for the party, it's Etch, then Plink, then Humble. If the monsters have a higher dexterity modifier, then our characters, then they go first. If the characters as a group have a higher modifier, then they go first. So the skeleton's dexterity modifier is +2. Etch is +4. Plink is +3. And Humble is +3. Etch notices the skeleton is wearing this dirty off-white and bedraggled livery, some sort of cloak or robe with a faded sunburst in the center of the chest. He is going to move closer and attack as the skeleton looks menacing, and he isn't stopping to think about, is this something I should question? That is a 9 on the die, and we're going to add his +6 attack modifier, so that's a 15. That does hit. The skeleton has an AC of 13. I also rolled the damage die at the same time, got a 5 on there, and we add the +4 from his dexterity modifier to give us a total of 9. That's a really good hit. After Etch is going to be Plink. Plink is in this other room. I mean, the walls are all sort of broken down, but they're in the other room. From here, though, through the purple light, she can see the skeleton and probably just see Etch as well. So she is going to pull up her bow and shoot towards the skeleton. Now, because she is a rogue and she has an ally near that enemy, she actually is going to be able to do sneak attack, which means that she gets to roll a d6 and add that to her attack if it hits. So let's roll and see what happens. Okay, that is a 2, so that does not hit, but that is okay. She is going to reposition herself and just move across here, so that hopefully she has a better line of sight next time, and is able to cover the rest of the room and keep an eye out, see if there's anything else happening. Humble's a cautious one, and she is going to move a little closer, but not too close, and she's probably going to cast Produce Flame. So she thrusts her staff forward and shouts out to Etch, "Watch out, Etch, it's going to get hot over there." She is going to roll. She is going to roll to attack. Okay, that is a 16. Nice. So 16 plus her spell attack bonus, which is +6, is 22. That's a great attack. And I rolled the damage dice. We got 3 on that. The flames burn like around the skeleton's head and shoulders, and Etch just kind of leans back a little bit, holding onto his sword, and puts his hand up as the heat sears like his face but burns the skeleton. And as the flames fade, you see the blackened marks over the browned bone of the skeleton. So our skeleton is looking really bloodied now. They are probably on their last legs. With that, we are going to have the skeleton's turn, so they are going to take an action. The skeleton's just going to go ahead and attack. And that is a 2, so that is definitely not going to hit Etch. Let's see if the characters notice something else that is happening in the room. So I'm going to roll 3 die. We've got purple for Plink, black for Etch, and orange for Humble, because she loves Produce Flame. Alright, that is a natural 1 for Etch. So he's not going to notice anything at this point in time. He's just like fixated on that skeleton. It doesn't look like Plink is going to notice either, as she rolled a 7 plus her perception is 6, so that's a 13. It's a little bit low for what's happening here. But Humble, standing at the back of the room near the staircase that they had climbed, she has a 16, plus her modifier of +6 is 22. So she turns to look to the stairwell on the other side of the room, the one that they assume goes up to the roof of the tower, and she hears a clattering as of bony feet coming down the stairs, and she sees two more skeletons come out of the door to that staircase and start to move towards Etch's back. Etch now has like an enemy at his back that he hasn't noticed, and so they are going to attack. Only one of the skeletons that has just appeared is in melee range, but because he hasn't noticed, I'm going to actually give them advantage. Advantage, that means I'm rolling 2 d20s, and we take whichever is the highest, and hopefully for the skeletons that hits. Hopefully for Etch it does not. And we're going to roll a d6, which is the damage dice too. Okay, they rolled a 19 as their highest roll. So it's 19 plus 4 to attack, and they are going to get a +2 to their damage. So we rolled a 2 on the d6, that's 4 damage to Etch. The new skeleton's short sword slashes out and cuts Etch down the back, parting the back of his cloak and skittering off his light armor, catching him in the right butt cheek and causing a squeal of pain from him as he quickly glances over his shoulder and sees these two skeletons. Okay, so that finishes the skeleton turn. We're going to go into round 2 now, starting with Etch. So Etch is going to use a cantrip, which is part of his kobold ancestry, and it's called Draconic Cry. And Draconic Cry is going to give him advantage on, and would also give other players potentially advantage on any enemies that are within 10 feet of, within a 10-foot radius of him. So at this point, that is pretty much all the skeletons on the board. So we'll get him to roll his attack. He's going to like try and finish off the one in front of him before turning to the one behind him. So rolling with advantage again, so that means we roll 2d20 plus our die. Alright, that is a natural 20. So that's amazing. Now what I'm going to do here is something that I do with my players in my group. When a PC rolls a natural 20, so that means we double the number of damage die. So the d6 gets doubled. That's just standard practice with D&D 5e. What I am going to allow, though, is that if he kills an opponent with that blow, that he's able to kind of turn that into an attack that also damages another enemy that is close enough for him to hit. So in that case, this is the skeleton right behind him. So we rolled a 2 on the d6. We're going to add another roll of d6. So that's a 5. So that's a 7 plus his +4 modifier from his dexterity ability. So that gives us 11 total. So he slashes across, this time focusing for the skeleton in front of him's neck. And he just slices through the neck, dropping the head off like the back of the skeleton's body. And in that same movement, having already seen the skeletons coming from behind him, spins around and slices through the upper arm and rib cage of the skeleton behind him. Okay, so that's huge. That natural 20 has and the ability to kind of move some of that damage to one of the other monsters that is attacking him. That is super effective. This is fantastic. So that skeleton is dead. Etch has spun around, and he is not going to back away or anything. He is just going to stand there resolute and wait for help from his party, but also get ready to defend against the skeletons. This brings us to Plink. Plink she's going to stay there, and she is going to target the skeleton in front of Etch with another attack. She gets to roll that extra d6 damage if she hits, because she is a rogue, and she gets that the ability to do that because one of her allies is within 5 feet of the target that she is attacking. Okay, nice. 17. 17 plus 5 is 22. That definitely hits. So I rolled her damage die. She got 11 on the damage die, plus 3, so that is 14. Her arrow flies past Etch and hits the skeleton through one of the eye sockets and punctures the skull, and the arrow just kind of sticks out the back of the skeleton's head, with bits of bone falling down around its shoulders as it collapses to the side, now also dead. Humble calls out again, "We've almost got him, guys. Let's keep going. I'll attack." And she is going to cast Produce Flame on the one that's still standing. So that's a 1d8 for the damage. We'll roll that with the d20. Okay, 11. 11 plus 6 is 17. That's going to hit. The damage is a 6 on the die. So that skeleton suffers 6 damage. Okay, that's been a great round for our heroes. The skeleton is just going to forge ahead, and with its saber is going to like stab towards Etch. So we will roll. Oh, 17. 17 plus 4 is 21. That's a really good hit on Etch. Damage is 5 plus 2, so that's 7 damage. That takes Etch down to 0. Etch kind of staggers back as the saber plunges into his lower midsection, and slumps to the floor, just at the feet of the skeleton that he had most recently killed. It's really intense. So one of our characters is down with 0 HP. The skeleton is still alive on its feet, and Etch is not going to be able to take any actions during his turn because he is unconscious. So because Etch is unconscious, we skip his turn and we go straight to Plink. Plink doesn't really have any ability to heal, so she is just going to... What is she going to do? I think she's just going to do what she normally does. And she's going to use her bow again, draw, and shoot at the skeleton. Let's see if that hits. This time she doesn't get the sneak attack because Etch has fallen down and fallen back away from them. And also, I'm a little uncertain about this, so tell me if you know in the comments. Does a rogue get their sneak attack bonus if the ally is unconscious? I'd be really interested to know. But for now, we're not going to do it. That is a 4. That is not going to hit. So the skeleton is still on its feet, still a threat to Etch. Humble's been with Etch for a while, so I think that she is actually going to move in and protect Etch with her rather larger body. She's going to cast Healing Word on him this time, and that is just a bonus action, so that allows her movement plus action after that. We're going to roll 1d4 to see what she's able to heal. That is a 4. Fantastic. 4 plus her spellcasting modifier of 4 is 8. That's amazing. Etch stirs on the floor as that blue radiance washes over him, and he opens his eyes. Humble, is that your doing? Healing me again? Thank you, my friend. But be careful. That skeleton is still alive and kicking. Well, I mean, not alive so much, but still stabbing. That brings Etch's HP total up to 8. And now Humble is going to move. Having moved in front of Etch and using her body as a barrier, she is going to grab onto her quarterstaff with both hands, and she is going to strike down at the skeleton just as hard as she can. Now her strength is not particularly good for a big person, but let's see how this roll goes. Using 2 hands with a quarterstaff means that she gets to roll a d8 damage instead of 1d6 damage. 14 on the die, and a +1 from her strength modifier is 15. So this hits the skeleton. So that's a 3 on the damage die, and she has a +1 strength to add to that, so that is 4 total. And the quarterstaff crashes down, and the skeleton crumples to the side slightly, its shoulder dropping as some of the bones in its clavicle and shoulder break. But it's not a debilitating strike. The skeleton is starting to look fairly damaged at this point, but is still on its feet, and now it's the skeleton's turn. As it moves, its body clatters, the bones rub and bounce against each other, and it slashes for Humble's head. Let's see if it hits. Seven plus 4 is 11. That's definitely not high enough to get to Humble, as Humble has an AC of 16. So the skeleton is unsuccessful. Round 3. Etch is going to get back up to his feet. Now that takes half of his movement. So his movement goes from 30, which is quite high for a smaller folk, as small folks typically have a speed of 25 feet, but the kobold's speed is 30 feet. Uses half his movement speed as he climbs to his feet, and then edging around the side of Humble, strikes at the skeleton. So I rolled a 5 and a 4 on the dice. The skeleton was looking rough already, so as he strikes, he just tears through the ribcage of the skeleton, through the vertebrae, and out the other side with pieces of bone flying as the skeleton drops to his feet. He brings a hand down to where he was wounded. He's like, well, Humble, thank you. We've taken care of this situation, but, well, hopefully not too many more of these encounters. I'm starting to feel a little worn down. Now that the heat of battle is passing, and Etch, being the front man, as it were, has been suffering damage on behalf of his party, they start to take stock and look around a little bit more. Humble, with that really good perception roll earlier, I would say that she notices something about the corner of the room where Plink is standing. She says, Etch, Plink, do you notice something strange about that corner where you're standing, Plink? It seems a little out of place. Is that a lever on the floor there, down behind your foot, Plink, just up against that corner? Plink turns around. Oh, that's definitely a lever. Well, I'd ask if I should push it, but I'm just going to push it. Plink walks over and pushes the lever. This causes a hidden door or opening in this corner of the room to open up and come down. Inside this small cavity is an image of a robed knight, hands open before him, and holding a golden sword on their outspread hands. Plink looks on in glee. Oh, what's this? What is it? This is fantastic. It looks like a magic sword. Come over and take a look at this. So Humble and Etch make their way over, and Etch says, Humble, this is your prize. You noticed it, even as you were warning us about the other skeletons coming to attack. You picked this up. That's amazing, my friend. Well done. Sometimes you just get lucky, I suppose. Heat of battle, I was seeing a lot. Just doing my best, Etch. Plink, do you wanna do the honors and take up the sword? Oh, I definitely want to take a look. Plink reaches forward and just tentatively touches the sword and then pulls her hand back quickly. Nothing seems to happen. So she reaches forward and picks up the sword and brings it over to the other two. Fine workmanship, if I don't say so myself. Well, it looks like a short sword. I tend to use a rapier. Etch, do you have any use for a possibly magical short sword? Well, friend Plink, I mean, that would be fantastic. This is a great weapon, but and he lofts his scythe-bladed short sword. But I could always use a little help. I'm definitely starting to feel like those more martial skills are starting to come easier to me, and a beautiful weapon, a beautiful, useful weapon, would no doubt enhance my prowess even more. He looks at it and marvels at it, and then taking it in his left hand, says, "Well, where to next? Are we going all the way to the top?" I suppose so, but we got to be careful. Those skeletons came from the top. There may be more. So they start to move through the room and head for the staircase to head up to what they believe is the roof of the tower. That finishes that scene, folks, and an exciting scene that it was. We are going to pick up our next scene on the staircase near the roof of the tower. As our three characters climb up the stairs and come to the rooftop of Starsong Tower, this is what they see. The walls of the upper level of the tower have collapsed, leaving this area exposed to the cavern beyond. A 2-foot diameter crystal sits atop a large pedestal of twisted green and gold metal at the center of the floor. The southeast corner of the floor has collapsed to reveal the levels below. Swirling violet energy flows around the base of the pedestal. A crack in the crystal emits a beam of wavering violet light that shoots upward to a much larger crystal set into the ceiling of the cavern 100 feet above. Now that the party is at the top of the tower and we start our next scene, let's roll on our expected scene table. So 1d10 again. That is a 2. Now the chaos factor after the previous scene would have gone up from 5 to 6 because that scene was quite chaotic and the characters were not completely in control of things. The momentum has sort of picked up. So with a chaos factor of 6, 2 is definitely under that, and therefore we are going to have another random event that occurs as part of this coming scene. I'm not sure what that's going to be, so let's flick over to our event focus table and roll on that to see what the nature of this random event is going to be. Rolling a D100. That is a 7. So some kind of adventure feature. I think what our adventure feature is going to be is some way to help the characters achieve their goal. So one of the features of this adventure is that they've been asked to investigate and, if possible, deal with what is causing this purple light to come out of the top of the tower. So I think the feature here could be some information that will help guide them in how to solve this situation. Let's go back to the scene and get it started. Arriving at the top of the tower, the group looks around. They notice that amongst the swirling energy at the base of the pedestal, where the purple light rises from the crystal to the ceiling above, there is movement and what looks like a spectral presence. Humble gasps. I think that movement in the bottom of the pedestal is the spectral figure I told you about that startled me on the stairs down below. I'm going to stay here. Don't worry, Humble. You stay there. We will see if this thing can speak to us, yes? As they're speaking, the movement of the spectral figure that spins round and round the base of the pedestal slowly starts to manifest and soon appears in front of them as a standing figure. somewhat translucent, but very definitely there. A whispery voice comes out across the space between them. I've seen you before, especially you, tall person. Looking at Humble. What is it you seek at the tower? This purple light. My head. We must get rid of this purple light. Have you tried to fix the altar at the bottom of the tower? Perhaps you have the means to fix the crystal here before me. And it gestures to the side. Plink says, well, no, we haven't been able to fix anything yet. We're not quite sure what it is we're supposed to do. We're a little confused, to be honest. But you said fix something, yes? Could you perhaps tell us how we could do that? We're more than willing to help to try and fix this situation that seems to be affecting you, and also affecting Alice down below in the tower temple. We're going to roll a persuasion check to see if Plink is able to convince this figure to lend them assistance or not. And because this is connected to our feature from the Mythic event focus that we rolled earlier, I'm going to give her advantage on her persuasion roll. So that's a 15 on the die. The other die was 10. And her persuasion is 6. She's got a killer persuasion skill there. So that is a total of 21. That's definitely enough to convince this figure. He continues to whisper at them, I was Sarvin Bluecaster, a high-ranking member of the Order of Knights that previously occupied Starsong Tower. But with the coming of the Grendleroot and the more recent contamination of the energy in this tower, I have become less or worse than I was before. You asked how you can help. Well, if you have the means, the crystal here is cracked and needs to be mended. That will cease the light from shining to the ceiling above, where it may be communicating with a sentience beyond Deep Delver's enclave. However, in order to completely restore the tower, you will need to deal with the desecrated temple below to Our Lady. That temple will need to be cleansed in order for the tower to be made whole once more. Thank you very much, Sarvin. We'll do what we can. It'll be our pleasure. Can you perhaps help us understand what this is? And she signals to Etch and says, "You know the wand that we found down in the chamber on the ground floor. Perhaps that is something that the Bronze Lions were going to use to help fix this problem. Let's take a look and give it to Sarvin." So he hands it over to Plink, and she holds it up. It's a wand of some sort, Sarvin. Yes, I can see that. I may be dead, but I'm not blind. And he reaches out, and his slightly translucent hands cup and cradle the wand, and he looks it over. Well, I think I may be able to help you here. I'm going to roll an Arcana check to see if Plink can identify what the wand does. That's a 15, and her Arcana is 2. Okay, so 17. A pretty good roll. So she looks at Sarvin and says, I think it maybe is related to mending, some kind of wand that helps to fix broken things, something that would be most useful in this particular case, yes? Sarvin continues to look at the wand. Yes, this is a wand of mending indeed. Maybe, I think it has 5, 6, maybe 7 charges in it, and I believe it casts the minor spell, the cantrip, the mending cantrip, but perhaps enough to fix the crystal and help down below. Well, you'll have to try, I suppose. So, what? Yes, here, take it back. So, do what you can. Okay, very good. Well, let's try it out. And Plink is going to move over closer to the crystal. And holding the wand in her hand, she is going to use it to cast the mending spell on the crystal that is emitting that purple light. She can see the crack where the light is spilling out of and rising up to the ceiling. As she casts the spell using the wand, she notices an immediate narrowing of the crack, but it's still there. She casts again, and then a third time. And on that third casting, she's able to mend the crystal completely. And all of a sudden, the light stops shining out from the crystal and just glows sullenly in the crystal in front of her. It's no longer coming out and rising up to the ceiling. Suddenly, from down below, there's a scream. They hear the scream echo up through the floors of the tower, and it's faint when it gets to them, but still very discernible. Plink looks over at Simon. So, what was that? I don't know, but it came from below. I suspect you'll have to go take a look. And keep the wand on you, yes? You might need it still. Well, we'll certainly take it with us, and she tucks it into the back of her belt. So, Etch, Humble, I think we might need to go, well, if that was Alice, we might need to go see how she's doing after this crystal's been fixed, and she doesn't seem too happy about it. Yes, well, we were probably going to have to deal with that situation sooner or later. Friend Humble, are you ready to go? I'll be right behind you, but I hope we don't have to do anything drastic. She sounds upset, but maybe she can still be saved. So the three of them bid Sarvin farewell and start their trek to the bottom of the tower. That is going to end our last scene for today, and we're going to pick it back up next time as the group joins Alice in the basement of the tower and tries to persuade her once again to leave the tower and come with them, and to let them fix the altar that she seems to be protecting. Thanks so much for watching today, folks. This is turning out to be a really fun game, so amazing to have you join us. Please leave us a like and subscribe if you're enjoying our content, as we are really trying to build the channel. We're just starting out fresh here. This is our first video series, so any support would be appreciated. If you have questions, comments, if you notice that I messed something up, which I probably did, then please leave a comment down below, and we will hopefully catch you at our next video.